think a lot of people are hoping that the restrictions will be eased shortly, but that really won't change the agenda. It will still be coronavirus related. We'll still be doing stories about vaccines and hospitals and care workers and PPE probably. But by the same token, we will always also be focusing on those individuals, those small companies, those brands that had to close down and are now preparing to reopen. It's almost as if there's, a new agenda that we could have there. The way in which industry, the way in which commerce, the way in which business, schools as well, the way in which they're getting back to normal. That, I think, will be the way in which we're going to be approaching the next few weeks and months. I think the audience want 3 or 4 specific things, but they're all mixed together at the moment. They want to know basic information. They want to know whether a vaccine is soon to be on the market. They want to know if the masks work. Do they protect them? They want to know whether or not they can catch the thing twice. But more importantly than that, there are a load of emotions around the next bit, which is they want to say thank you to all those workers that are keeping them safe and their family safe. They want to say thank you to all those workers that maybe they never give a second thought to in normal circumstances, but are actually keeping the country running. They're thinking about volunteering for voluntary groups. They probably never even thought of that before, but they want to get involved. And they also want to be inspired. So they want to know when people get better. They want to know when the 105-year-old comes out of hospital. I think as you'd expect, there's been a massive interest in the coronavirus story since it broke out in March. We have doubled our audience in those 8 weeks, 10 weeks or so. I'm pretty certain that other broadcasters would say the same thing as well. So the level of general interest in everything to do with this story has been absolutely immense. It doesn't show any sign of dropping down either. I mean, at some point it will, as things ease off and we return to normal, then we expect the audience to drop. But at the moment, there is still a huge amount of interest across every bulletin that we do. I think there was quite a bit of confusion and chaos, and certainly some excitement in the opening days of reporting the coronavirus outbreak. And so we carried on using the studio in the way that we'd always used it before, which was with 2 presenters, and we invited guests in. There were obviously camera operators in there, and the floor manager and the sports presenter and the weather presenter, not all at the same time, but they were there. So it's pretty crowded, even though we've got a very big studio. However, once it became apparent that we had to change the way that we were working, we cut the number of presenters down to 1. So 1 presenter, reduced the number of camera operators, and we decided not to invite any guests in. So any interviews that needed to be done, if they couldn't be done live through FaceTime or Skype, we would get the other presenter who wasn't involved in the programme to do that interview in the afternoon as a pre-recorded interview. So we managed to get around it. It does look a little bit stripped back and bare, and it sometimes looks a little bit less than sophisticated, shall I say. But it's the way that we had to do. We had to accommodate this story, and it was dictating the way we put the news out, not the BBC. I think there were 2 main challenges. The first one was, how do we carry on broadcasting at a time when what we used to do was go out and talk to people in the street, face to face, in their homes, in their offices, and do whatever filming we wanted to do. That all stopped. We couldn't do that. So we had to find a way around it. It took us a bit of time. Some people were disappointed with the end product because it wasn't as sparkly as what they'd been used to. But it was the only way that we could get to tell people's stories, and a lot of people wanted to tell their stories. The second one, which is still a bit of work in progress actually, is trying to protect our staff. We were conscious that there was a level of anxiety and about going out. There was a level of anxiety about coming into an office where there were lots of people. So we had to put measures in place. We flattened the output, bulletins were dropped, fewer people in the office, normal things that I think a lot of broadcasters do, people working from home. But there is still a recognition that we need to keep an eye on our staff. We need to make sure that they are as resilient as they can possibly be. I think if you're asked to provide a guest for TV or radio, then there are three main categories. It's all a bit haphazard, but one is the case study. This is the person that illustrates the issue, that illustrates the point of the story. The second one is the expert. Now that can be a medical expert, financial, scientific, somebody like that. Or the third category is the MD, the manager figure, the CEO, the person that built the business from nothing. Okay, so three distinct, different categories, but the one thing we want from all of them is engagement. Be normal, be conversational, don't talk in jargon. Don't start a sentence with so. Don't use the phrase going forward. Nonsense. Just talk normally and get your message across. Short sentences, don't hurry. If you feel a jargon thing coming on, try to resist it and just explain it as if you're explaining something to 5-year-olds. Well, the answer to that one is a definite yes. We have already done stories about the way in which local charities, big and small, are facing huge financial problems because people aren't able to go on sponsorship walks and runs and donate to them. So we would be very interested to hear if there are any ways in which the charities have come up with raising money in a different way, or if they, if they're just in danger. We're quite happy to reflect that because we know the vital work that they carry out. Yeah, just a couple of things about B-roll footage, which I hope you'd take on board. One is that in normal circumstances, yes, we would want to come into the factory or the office and do our own shots and then do the interviews. Obviously, we can't do that now. So we're quite happy to accept B-roll footage from you because it makes it slightly easier to tell the story, obviously. And don't get scared about thinking that you'd have to hire in, a high-end camera unit to do that. We're quite happy to accept mobile phone footage because some of the cameras on the phones nowadays are very, very good. If you need any help or any guidance in what to do, what to shoot, how to hold the camera even, then just ring us up and we'll talk you through it. In terms of interviews, obviously we'd like to do our own interviews. We wouldn't really accept you doing interviews and then sending that to us. So we would like to question the people involved.